Welcome to Pop Culture Retro, which was recently voted the 15th best podcast by the residents of the Golden Years retirement community in Boca Raton, Florida. Each show, we'll revisit some of your favorite pop culture memories with insider and outsider perspectives. Now, please help me welcome your hosts, Ike Eisenmann and Jonathan Rosen.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Pop Culture Retro. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Rosen, along with Ike Eisenmann, and today we are thrilled to welcome an award-winning voiceover artist, co-host of the very popular show VO Buzz Weekly, and was also host of two Disney shows which were watched and adored by millions of people, Top 7 Must-Sees and Must-Do Disney, which my daughter said that no trip to Disney was complete without watching. And what's more is she's also a fellow New Yorker. Please help us welcome Stacey J Aswad. Stacey, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me, you guys. It is an honor to be here among
Thanks.
you.
Well, we have a lot to cover, but to start with, as I mentioned during the intro, you grew up in New York and were roller skating artistically at the age of 5, which I found incredible, and became a 5-time national champion. What did you do with your first what do you do for your first championship, and what kind of regimen and training did you have to go through for that?
Well, it started really, I have 4 older sisters and we were like little ducklings. We all went everywhere together. And so one of my sisters was having a birthday party and wanted to go roller skating. So we all went, and it happened to be a rink that had a competitive team. And I don't know, we all ended up skating together for many years, but I just fell in love with it. And it's had different chapters in my life when I've lived in different places in the country. So depending on where I've lived, I've found a team and coaches. So it was really, I mean, it's artistic roller skating. It is not roller derby. You don't knock anyone down on purpose. So just to clarify, people are like, you're kind of small to me. I'm like, no, you don't body check people on purpose. It's rhinestones, it's crushed velvet, it's fabulous. So it was a lot of training. I mean, it wasn't obviously my career. It was a very time-consuming hobby. So I would train after school, and then when I got older, after work and on the weekends, and you travel all because you train for months and months and months and years, and then you have this little window of 2 or 3 minutes where it's all on the line. So you can't go, oh, can I start again? It's like you have to do it. You have to do it, and you hope you get the judges' high scores and you win. It's very bizarre. There's political stuff to it that people say, but but it's cool. I mean, it's kind of like the stepchild to ice skating.
Mm-hmm. Well, you outlined it, but what's the tournament process like that goes into becoming a national champion?
Just a lot of going around in circles and training and technique. I mean, I did the circle figures and team dance and solo dance. So the circles, you have this little 1/2-inch line that you have to trace, and you turn on it. And so it's just literally hours and hours and hours of practice and over and over, and having great coaches who push you, and just having that inner discipline when it's cold, when you're tired, when you have a stomach ache, just doing it. And then I had dance partners over the years who were amazing, and there's set pattern on the floor and set steps, and it's just literally repetition, so that when the time comes and you're on the competition surface, all of that goes out the window, and then you just perform and hope that the foundation that you put in place is there, and try to keep the nerves at bay. And then you get some hardware, hopefully, which is fun.
Well, how did that transition into ballet? And, you became a professional while still in high school?
Yeah, I did. In upstate New York, the opera company was sort of the training company for the Metropolitan Opera. And so my first paying gigs were dancing in operas, which was incredible to be able to work with these incredible singers. And Die Fledermaus was my first paying, like, proper paycheck, and did Carmen and all these different La Traviata and all of that. So that was in high school, and we had a professional ballet company in the school that I trained in. And so I was put into the company in high school, which was incredible, working with professional dancers, and prepared me to go to Juilliard. And it was one of those things that I knew in my bones. I had to perform, and thankfully my parents were supportive of that and saw that in me, that it was really, I mean, I thought about becoming a doctor. I thought of other things, but it just kept choosing me. It just kept saying, you have to do this. So, like with everything I do, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability and just dig in. And so it was really cool, because when I was skating in earlier years, I started working with a choreographer because I was doing freestyle, which is the routines with the jumps and spins.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started working with a ballet choreographer on my routines. And then I fell in love with it. And it was cool because when you're on roller skates, they've changed the technology a bit, but they're heavy. And so when you're jumping on the surface with an extra 8 pounds on you, when you take them off in a ballet studio, I was jumping and hitting the ceiling. Like, this is incredible. So I would always go across the floor with the boys because I could jump high from having no skates on my feet. So it started from skating, working with a choreographer, and then I did both for many years, and finally had to decide, because it was just, there weren't enough hours in the day
Of course.
to do everything. So
well,
skating really is skating is really the launch pad for, when you think back on different chapters in your life, it really is the reason I have relationships that I have, and the career that I have is from roller skating. So there you go.
Well, how old were you when you first realized you had a desire to perform?
Ooh, I was probably 4 or 5.
Oh, really? That's so.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, I had an amazing kindergarten teacher,
Wow.
Mrs. Biles, and she would dress up. We would be studying a certain chapter of history or something, and she would dress up as that character. And so she was, I mean, at Thanksgiving, we actually churned butter. I mean, we learned all about pioneers and all. And so I just saw this teacher who just was so invested in her students and in making it fun but productive. And so I was so excited to go to school and learn from her. And I think she just made everyone feel really comfortable being who you are. And I was always, I mean, I have a big family. I'm the youngest in my family, but my parents are very artistic. I mean, there was always music playing, and my sisters have a creative side. So I think just the nature of like a big family, there's always noise and commotion, and I just felt comfortable. I didn't feel like I wanted to be quiet. I just wanted, I always had something to say or a cartwheel to do, or it just felt like me. I feel like I'm the best me when I'm playing me. That makes sense.
Well, then you graduated from Juilliard. What were some of your first professional jobs?
Let's see. Um, I did a lot of touring with this Lincoln Center touring company. We did all kinds of different ethnic dance. That happened actually while I was still in Juilliard. I did a lot of flamenco.
Oh, wow.
One of my amazing teachers was from Argentina. So I did a lot of flamenco. And then I worked with regional ballet companies in the Midwest. And, I did a lot of modern dance in New York, like downtown modern, kind of gritty and fun. And so then that just sort of parlayed into teaching and working. I taught in the performing arts high school in the Midwest. And so that was a really cool opportunity to be a teacher and a choreographer. And I was also dancing as well. Because I was talking to a friend about this recently, that when I graduated from Juilliard, which was all very performance based and choreography based, if you make it to the 4-year mark and you're going to graduate, which is always like pins and needles if it's going to happen. But I remember that the faculty sitting down and saying, they kind of go around and talk about your 4 years and your highlights and lowlights and all of that. And I remember them saying to me, you're a beautiful performer, you're a beautiful choreographer, but you also have a strong voice and a leadership capability. And you really, because I was the dance captain for this touring company while I was there. And I remember thinking at the time, oh my gosh, they don't think I'm a good performer. What does that mean? I should quit. And you know, you're young and you just want to be chosen and accepted. And then as I got older, I realized that they saw things in me that I hadn't realized yet. And so I did love to direct and produce. And so teaching and doing all of that and being mentoring the young, you know, the next generation of artists was something I loved in addition to performing. So that was a cool way to parlay my love of performing and experience with just knowing that I had something to say and something to give back.
One of the things you just said, which struck me while reading your bio, actually, it was a little amusing to me. Most people move from the Midwest to New York to seek their fortune. We did the reverse. So what prompted that?
I know. That's me. When everyone's going right, Stacey goes left. Hello. This is not news to anyone who knows me well. You know, I was in New York. I had gotten my personal fitness trainer, group instructor certification. So when I got out of Juilliard, I had obviously jobs, but I wanted to do something, and I wanted to do something that was going to keep me strong physically and learn. And so I was like, you know what? I don't want to be a waitress, nothing against that, but I want to do something else. So I was in the fitness industry at the same time. And I love New York. It's always in my heart. It's always my home. But I was sort of looking around like, where else are the arts happening? What else is going on in the country? Because I hadn't spent a lot of time. And I had some friends that had gone to the Fame High School in New York. And I had thought about that, uproot the whole family for one kid. So I started investigating and researching. And so I just, on a whim, I had done some teaching in New York, and I said, let me send my resume out and see what happens. And so I got interviews like in Colorado and down south. And this performing arts school in Louisville or Louisville, depending on in Kentucky, just kept sticking out. And so I got an interview and I got the job, and it was an incredible opportunity to be involved in the arts in that way. And some of my students went on and studied with some of my teachers, and some of my peers at Juilliard who are still in the dance world worked with some of my students. So it was so cool to see this convergence of my dance experience with theirs. So I don't know, I'm a really curious person, and I just like to experience things. And I kind of always feel like it's going to work out even if there's challenges. So I'd rather have no regrets in my life and just go out there and try and explore. So I said, why not? What's the worst that could happen? And it was pretty great. So I spent 10 years of my life in the Midwest, and then got back into skating, and I have incredible friends because of that. So, you know, I've kind of lived everywhere. I've kind of
lived for sure. Yes.
Yeah. I know you got to put a tracker on me. It's like, where is she now?
Well, you got involved in the show 7th Street Theater. Can you tell us about that and how it came about?
Yeah, so after the Midwest, I went to Charlotte, North Carolina. Why not? And so I started doing.
We're sensing a serious trend here for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While I was in Kentucky, I started doing some on-camera commercials, and I my claim to fame was I did a lot for Procter and Gamble. And so like when the Force Flex garbage bags came out and the Swiffer, I was like the first one to touch the Swiffer prototype. It was very exciting.
Well,
if you applied for a job at UPS, I would be the person taking you through that process. Or Papa John's, you want to know how to make pizza dough? There's Stacey in her cute little polo shirt telling you how to do it. So I was doing like a lot of industrial stuff. And so when I moved to Charlotte, I got more involved in proper theater and on-camera commercials and film and television. And so I auditioned for that show, and it was they were calling it kind of like a Christian Friends. And so I did that for a few seasons, and obviously in Charlotte, that's where I got the Disney project. That's where that all happened. And then, so 7th Street Theater was a really cool ensemble piece. It was a really fun project. It was kind of my first ongoing proper series, kind of, in working with other actors in that way. And so it was a cool learning experience. We shot it up in the mountains in Asheville.
Well, let's talk about the Disney one. You were selected to host the show, Walt Disney World's top 7 must-sees. So when I told my kids that you were coming on, they were very excited because, my oldest, told me that she did not feel it was a trip to Disney until she saw you on TV. So for those who don't know, can you tell us about what that show was, how you got involved, and what the audition process was like?
Yeah, sure. So I was in Charlotte. The audition was in Atlanta. And Ike knows when you get auditions, you drive all over the place. And so I would drive to Atlanta regularly from Charlotte. And so I was there for something else. And the casting director said, "Oh, we've got this hosting thing for tomorrow. So I'll put you on tape today so that you don't have to drive back tomorrow." Okay. So I go out to my car, change my wardrobe, because you have your whole closet in your car. And they put me on tape with for those top 7 enthusiasts, the whole Summit Plummet section. And so they put me on tape, and then I ended up having to go back a couple of days later because I got a call back. And so it was just one of those things where I had never done straight to camera hosting before. But like a lot of my career, I just live like it's already happened and happening. So I was like, sure, yes, I'm a host. Yes, I host. Yeah, I host. So I did the callback. The director was there. And on my resume, I have that I play golf, which I legitimately do. And he was really, really, the first director of that top 7 was awesome, this guy, Tom. And he was kind of testing me out. He's going, "Yeah, golf, huh? Yeah, you play golf, do you?" I said, "Yeah, it's on my resume. I don't lie on my resume." Okay. So the shot off the tee is actually me. First take, I stepped up and I cranked it over the water. The tee flew out. They were like, so that's always because he and the writer were big golfers. So they're like, "We can cut away." I said, No, we're not cutting away. Line it up. I'm ready. Let's go. And I was like, "Do you need a safety? Want to do it again?" It was great. It was fun. But yeah, so I got a call back, and then they had done a national casting, I was told later. And so things took longer and the timeline was getting tighter and tighter. And so I found out really quickly that I got it. And so they sent me this 25-page script in the mail and said, "Learn this." And I had like 2 weeks to learn it. It had to be word perfect. Everything had to be word perfect because everything had gone through legal and all of that. So I remember having a moment of, as I'm sitting on the plane flying to Orlando, what have I done? What did I agree to? I had never been to Disney World before in my life.
Wow.
I had never done straight to camera hosting. But again, what's the worst that could happen?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, right? Nothing bad.
Yeah.
So we did, I got there, we did some wardrobe picks, and we went off and did the top 7. And that was a really cool, intense shoot. But it took me back to my skating to kind of full circle it, because I knew I had to nail it. And I didn't have a teleprompter. It was all memorized. It was just me. I mean, yeah, you see characters running around, but there's the camera and me. So it's not like I can kind of, "Woo, hey, what do you think about that, Jonathan?" Nobody. Crickets. So I had that competitive, this is you have one chance. So that was kind of really cool. I felt like I tapped into that side of me of just, what, believe, leap, the net will appear. You got this. They didn't give you this job out of charity. Something was the right connection. And it was a year. It was supposed to be for a year. and it lasted for 15. So there you go.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. It was only supposed to be for a year, so obviously
Yeah.
you're doing something very right.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I think it was one of those things that the fans really liked it. I think that it was a time where I don't know, there was just every star was aligning or something. And I remember there were different producers over the years and different writers. And obviously then the top seven became, it was Year of a Million Dreams for a minute. Then it was Must Do Disney, which lasted all the way through. And so I think it just kept working. And I think it was getting more attention than maybe other things had gotten. So I think that they were listening to the fact that people really liked it.
That's what I was going to ask you. That like it was supposed to be for a year. How long did it take for them to say to you that oh, fans are really responding to this? How long did that happen?
Well, I think they started getting requests for, hey, do you have a DVD? Remember those? Do you have a DVD we can buy? Do you sell this anywhere? And they would say, what was that song from the opening? And people they would say like, what? Like people want to know. They were asking about things, and then people started quoting
Oh.
it and all the one-liners. And so people and then as we were filming over the year, because the first shoot obviously was lengthy. I think it was like 10 days because we were shooting the whole thing and it was a lot of content. So then I went back a couple of times in the first year to update things and change things because of the countdown. And as we were filming more, people were recognizing me and going like, and they would stop and watch and ask for an autograph or a picture or hold my baby or whatever. So they were noticing that. And then, social media wasn't really a thing. So that wasn't it. It was just actually experientially in the park, we were creating a little bit more attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2009, they were going to change it to Must Do Disney. And right before that, they said, listen, it's been so great. Thank you so much. But we're going to go in a different direction. I was nothing but grateful. Incredible opportunity. Wish you all the best. Fantastic. And so I think they tried to go in a different direction. And then they came back and said, well, I think we'll stick with your direction. So that was 2009, I think was Must Do Disney. And then that just kept going and going. And sometimes it was just voiceover updates and sometimes it was in-person updates. And then COVID happened. I mean, we were going to keep going. And then COVID happened and everything changed. So that's, I know there's people that they message me a lot and say like, come back. And,
I'm going to ask you about that too, but
yeah.
You said you'd never been to the parks, but had you been a Disney fan in general growing up? And what were some of your favorite movies? I'm curious.
Yeah, I did. I mean, we didn't watch a lot of television growing up, but I did. I loved, Lady and the Tramp, and I loved the books, and I was a big reader. So I remember the commercials, and everyone was wearing pastels, and they looked so happy, and there were bluebirds on people's shoulders. And I just remember being like, what is this place? What is this place? But I mean, I have a big family, and we were all over the place and moving a big family around, and so I had never been, and it just always was this magical, literally like mystical place. And I had friends that had gone, and they would talk about it. And I was Mickey Mouse for Halloween several times. We have a Mickey Mouse phone, which is actually in my booth over here to the right. I mean, we had Mickey Mouse t-shirts and all that, but it just never came to be until 2005.
Wow.
Well, as a host for Disney, what were some of the perks you got?
Well, I didn't wait in any lines. I got to ride things over and over because we had to get the shot.
Right.
So that actually has ruined me, frankly, because now if I go anywhere, I'm sort of like, oh, just once, huh? All right. Well, I don't mind waiting, but it's kind of, you realize, wow, that's not long. But when you do Expedition Everest 5 times in a row, it's awesome. But yeah, that was a perk, obviously. Getting to be around sort of behind the scenes and just seeing this incredible network of organization and creativity, and that was really, really amazing to me to see just so many brilliant minds coming together, and how just seamless they really work hard to make it a seamless experience for people. But I mean, obviously I got to stay in all the beautiful resorts. But I mean, I was there working. It wasn't like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. I mean, and it was certainly very enjoyable, but it was hard work. I mean, we would do 10-hour days on your feet, walking and talking, jumping, leaping, being knocked down in Typhoon Lagoon 12 times, but who's counting? And I know they got the shot like on take 3, but it was just fun to watch me get pummeled. And that was admitted to me later. Yeah, nice. But I would say, I mean, I didn't really go when I wasn't working, except once. I was there doing a film festival for something else. And I went to Disney with the filmmakers, and they thought it was hilarious to walk around yelling my name and seeing if people noticed. So they did. It was fun.
Wow. Well, were you shown any Disney projects in the developmental stage?
No.
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 Well,
No, there was someone before me, and then but they were doing a whole new campaign. So I remember kind of trying to, but it was a lot of just, again, we didn't have the beauty of YouTube and access and things that we have now. So but it was really just, you know, a lot of words on the page and a vision, and then just do a take, redirect, do something else. And then as time went on and we did more and more updates and different campaigns, I was basically matching myself, because a lot of the show has stuff from all different years. It's not like they just scrapped it. It was like they take that piece out and they put something else in. So whenever I would go back, I would turn on the television, not because I'm in love with myself, but because I was like, okay, I have to make sure the pitch in my voice, make sure my energy, so that when they slotted something new in, it wasn't jarring. Like, where did this come from? Or, but that was always fun when people would say, oh my gosh, that was 3 years later. Or, you know, and obviously had to keep my hair the same and the clothes needed to fit. And so everything was like, which arm was the bracelet on, and all of that continuity. So that was kind of a fun challenge to sort of, I was competing with myself to stay consistent. So
Yeah.
that was kind of interesting for a long time.
Well, you mentioned how tight you had to stick to the script. Were you ever given the opportunity to ad lib at all?
Yes.
Oh,
Definitely. They would, like in World Showcase, for example, they'd say, okay, go on in there. And I would, but again, I had a parameter. I couldn't go completely rogue, because I knew they would want to use some of it. So I kind of tried to keep it Disney friendly and in agreement with the show. But the writers, there were a couple of different writers, and they were just incredible. And as they got to know me, they got to know kind of flat out awesome and things that I would say. And so that it really, we kind of started to share a brain, and I got to know their style. So by the time we got into year 2, year 3, there was definitely a rhythm, which was really nice. But it was fun to come up with ad libs and then to see what they ended up using. That was always kind of like, oh, that got in. And but it was a really incredible team. I mean, from obviously the producers, the director, the writers, but the extra casting coordinators, and just I'm the one that you see, but the incredible people that worked behind the scenes to make everything go so seamlessly. And I mean, the schedule was tight. You know, we had to get that shot once maybe we had time for a safety because the monorail had to pass behind me and we could not wait for 20 minutes. So again, it was like I had to nail. I'll do a take 50 times if you need it. I'm not that person's like, didn't you get it? But I don't want to do it because I've messed up. So I was like, every take, I was like, you have to nail it. It has to be the one that they can use. And then if they wanted something different but like Test Track, the original Test Track was like one of my favorite things to film because it was like physical and it was just like fast and I had to talk really fast and I knew what was going on behind me. So there was a lot of elements, and then people started to stop and watch us film. So then again, I was like, oh, I got to make sure that I'm not screwing it up because people are watching. So it was really like the minute my feet hit the ground in Orlando, I was on, and it was just, filming at night to make it look like, or filming at 5 a.m. to make it look like nighttime. And so we were shooting at all different times of the day to make it work.
Well, I have to ask something. So it's always curious while watching these things. Were there any times, I guess, where that you just knew that something like, an attraction or policy was not going to be popular with the fans, but you had to put on that happy face and spin it? So
that is very controversial. A lot of the interstitial things that I would talk about, the Magic Your Way tickets and Fast Pass, and there were times
the Magic Your Way tickets is one of the things that I had in mind while asking this.
So. Isn't that funny? Okay, so here's a fun little fact. I was pretty flawless on the delivery. Like I wasn't going up. There was a script super but I wasn't going up on my stuff a lot. That particular section, I don't know why my brain was like, no. That was the heart. For some reason, that was the piece of copy that I just kept going, what is happening? Why can't I don't know why. And then I'm thinking, okay, explain to me how this works. I'm thinking maybe I just don't understand the process. And I'm thinking, I don't know. Like, so that for some reason, that piece really yanked at my brain. It was not a fun piece. And and of course it was like the end of the day. So the whole day I'm going, oh God, the Magic Your Way is like haunting me at the end of the day. The sun is like coming down. It's beaming in my eyes. I'm like, oh God, it's so hot. So that was probably the least enjoyable of my entire reign. That was, yeah. So clearly you did not enjoy the Magic Your Way ticket either.
Well, I see a lot of fans still complaining that they changed the Fast Pass system, the original. Yes. I still see a lot of the complaints about that. So it's just like when the poor person that has to sell that.
We're all still complaining about that, believe me. And my wife is retired guest relations from Hollywood Studios. So she knows the system extremely well. And she just said, when they got rid of that, it was like, it just drove people absolutely nuts. And anyway,
yes.
So.
Yes. But well, that makes me feel much better. Kudos to your wife. I feel I can breathe now. Thank you for that after how many years.
My pleasure.
But you know what I think is interesting now is that, and I get that it's super, super important, but now I feel like there's a lot more of this at Disney. Everyone looking on their phone to get their attraction with their meet and greet. And I feel like I love that I was there before all of the mobile apps and the scheduling. I mean, that was coming in right towards the end. But I feel like now, well, in every aspect, everyone's just sort of like this and maybe not looking up as much. So that kind of makes me a little sad.
Yeah, that's 100% true, because clearly we live very close to the parks and we go a lot. We have the grandkids in town. We go at least 3-4 times a year plus on our own. And my wife Tia says constantly, look, everybody's just on their phone. They're not looking at anything. And it's everywhere. They're walking. People bump into you because this is what they're doing. And it's really turned into this about the interface on your phone to manage everything. And it's lost that part of the magic, because you have to make reservations to get in the parks now. You're only allowed so many. And if you book for one time, so many days, and it's a process. I cannot wrap my brain around it. So I leave it up to my wife and her daughter-in-law to do all that stuff, because it's really quite complicated. And and it's become impersonal in a very strange way. Although at the same time, I kind of have to say, I get it. I understand, we're a technology driven society now, and people adapt to it pretty quickly and they use it pretty effectively, but they do spend far more time staring at this than they do looking around at the incredible artistry that's surrounding them. It's just so sad. Well, you may have already answered this question. That was a tough thing to shoot. What were some of the other tough things that you had to shoot?
The water stuff was challenging because you can't control water. So, I mean, when we did Cali River Rapids, when we're going down in the raft and the water comes up over the side, I don't know if you remember that, and I get soaked. And that was actually the first take. It was a miracle. I mean, I had my hero pants that had to stay dry. So I have a similar pair of pants on. The sweet young boy who's sitting next to me is so excited. He's like, are we going to get wet? I was like, I don't know, dude. Never done this before. But I don't know. I was like, so you're in this with me? He's like, absolutely. So it literally was like, cue the bucket. It was so perfect. And then we did it again in soggy shoes and soggy pants just to be sure. But that was just fun from the standpoint of like, it absolutely worked. And then sometimes doing the other water park stuff, most of my bruises and bumps were from, we had a DP that was just for water. And so he and I would collide and the camera would so thankfully all the clothes were modest enough that, I mean, the tops of my legs were like just black and blue. And because I would come out of a shoot or something and I would run into him. And so the water stuff was a little more challenging because it was just not as easy to orchestrate. And so Summit Plummet was very fun, but terrifying. And have you guys done Summit Plummet? Did you listen to
I have, yeah. It's been a while. It's been quite a while, but yeah.
So I had to do that a few times. It was very early in the morning. The water was cold. And I kept waiting for them. I don't know why I thought there'd be some sort of harness or bubble or something. And they're like, no, just cross your arms and your feet and just lay back. I'm like, oh, okay. So that was fun. But I think the water stuff was hard. And then I think it was just in general, as if I was there for 3 days or a week, is making sure that my energy was not detectable if it was day 1 or day 7. Like keeping that high intensity and energy up was just, really crucial, because they were at that point really scrutinizing because it all had to match. And then there was the weird skin rash I got in Animal Kingdom.
Ooh.
Wow.
I don't know where that came from. I think I leaned against something. Thankfully, it was towards the end, and then we were going to Epcot with the long shirt, but I had to have a doctor come and give me a steroid shot, and that's good times. But,
well, what famous fans have you heard from?
No, I'm trying to think. Famous fans. I don't know.
You know?
I'm trying to think. I did, strangely, in Los Angeles, I would see a lot of people in Trader Joe's. And it would be like, but I mean, I'm out of context there. And people would recognize me alarming amounts in the Gelson's market and the Trader Joe's. I don't know why. Food and Stacey and Disney. I mean, I think it was Jack Black, because I was a roller skating host for the WNBA, for the LA Park. And he would call me Roller Girl and be like, Roller Disney Girl, yeah. And when I would roll by, I mean, I think there were people that knew me that I didn't know they knew me, because sometimes I would be working on a different project, or I'd go in for an audition and the director would be like, hey, just spent the week looking at you. Look at you. So I don't know. I don't know that. I guess you'd have to ask them. I'm not sure. Because I appreciate the love and the gratitude, but I don't walk around going, do you know I'm a celebrity? I don't know. I don't find that.
Yeah, that's always an awkward thing to do.
Yeah.
But clearly you had been the face of Disney up until a couple of years ago. So what happened? Was it just COVID, or did they want to make a change, or did you? And what was said about it?
Thank you for asking, because many people have said, why did you walk away? I did not. I don't have the power to say, you must keep me. We were in negotiation. Honestly, we were in negotiations to keep going. And then COVID happened, and we kept pushing it off, and let's wait a couple months. And then everything just did what it did. So I think at that point, it would have been, in fairness, I think it would have been very hard to do something like my show, because everything was changing so rapidly. And, who wants to see me running around in an empty park with a mask on? I mean, I don't know. I think it would have been really hard, because we weren't able to congregate and we weren't able to do things. So I think it just got to the point where it was kind of left with we're going to table this for now. If something changes, we'll get in touch. So no one's gotten in touch. No, it's fine. I mean, I'm a strong believer of change is not always bad. Change does not always have to mean bad. It's just different. And I think that capsule of time will always be that way. They will always, from 2005 to 2020, it will always be that. And we have, thankfully, YouTube, and we have people's memories. And so it's sort of like this lovely time capsule of magical things.
Well, speaking of YouTube, I mean, I don't know if you've seen, I'm sure you've seen them, because I went on, after you came, said that you were willing to come on, thank you. But I went on, looked at the most recent, must do Disney videos. If you scan the comment sections, one after another, bring Stacey back. We want Stacey back. Have you seen those? I mean, are you aware of those? It's like nonstop.
I don't watch myself on a loop, just to be clear. Yes,
these are the newer ones. The ones without.
Oh, the newer ones.
The newer ones, without you. You keep saying, "Bring Stacey back."
Oh no, I haven't seen those, but I have been made aware. People have sent me things saying we have this petition, and we're getting signatures for it. People are so lovely and so kind, and I appreciate it so much. And I absolutely was prepared to continue. But it happened. Stuff happens, life happens, things change. And so, I don't know. I mean, I think now I don't even know what it would be if they did it.
Well, would you consider doing something again with them if they asked?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll run into a camera operator on. I always travel with, whenever, I mean, from going on sets, it's like I always have Neosporin and Band-Aids, and man, as I would go, I literally had like my bag, but my first aid kit was bigger than my
gosh, man, that's incredible.
No, I would do it. I would absolutely. I mean, I feel I love what I do. I love getting to be a part of people's literally happiest times. I get so many incredible messages from people who now either were just getting together, and now they have kids, and or little kids that are now, you know, like your daughter. And, you know, it's so lovely to be a part of when people were together, however that was, as colleagues or family or friends. And I'm kind of like the person that was along for your trip. And that really makes me happy to be a part of that. So I'm so grateful for the kindness, for the love, for the continued interest, even in other things I've done, or just the fact that people acknowledge. I mean, there's that whole like, I should be a Disney legend. And I mean, it's just, it's bananas. It's so fun.
I have the same thought that you should be. I keep saying that to Ike as well, that he should be. It's
Yes.
yes. So,
I don't use my flour and I not think of you, Ike. Hello. When I'm baking, I'm always you. It's like what would Ike do? Seriously, you've changed me forever with flour. I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard that, but thank you for that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But my flour is so much less interesting. It just sits there. I don't
well, I do want to discuss one of the other things you mentioned. You know, a few other things. You were in another documentary called Finding Kraftland. It won awards, and I've only gotten to see clips, but it looks fascinating. So, can you tell us about the documentary and how you got involved?
Yeah. So, Finding Kraftland is an homage to Richard Kraft, who is a film and Broadway composer agent in Los Angeles, and a huge Disney file, like one of the largest collections of everything Disney, not just buttons. We're talking ride cars and everything.
Wow.
And so he would do these buddy trips to Disney World with like 30 of his family and friends. And so while Must Do Disney or Top 7 was going on, he saw this, and his son, who was a teenager at the time, said, "Dad, we should do a show like this about our stuff." And so I was living in Charlotte at the time, and they found my agent. You know, it was hilarious. Like Richard and I are, you know, he and his son became friends from it. But, you know, they were like, "I'm legitimate." So I talked to Richard. He goes, "This is not some weird scam to get you to Hollywood. You know, this is real." So they call it the most overproduced home movie. And it became like this little cult film because it was just to celebrate he and his son have a birthday a day apart. And so it was like this big thing they wanted to do. And then they were going to premiere it at their birthday party on the Paramount lot, because that's where you have your birthday party, right? So it became so beloved, and people were like, this is because it was about Disney and his huge imagination and his overconsumption and all of that. But it was also about his family and how Disney was a time when they were together, and because his brother was sick. And so when his brother was healthy, they would go to Disneyland. So there was this whole beautiful like heart behind it. So on a whim, because Richard does everything big, he goes, let's put it in film festivals. So he starts putting it in film festivals all over the world. It's winning. We went to a bunch together. It was hilarious. And so it just kind of became this thing for like a year, where we would travel around and do Q&As and go into film festivals. And so there are some clips on it, but it's not, obviously with licensing, and it's not out there to buy. But it did develop a following. And so there are some people, I think, that have bootleg DVDs of it somewhere.
Wow, that would be I can see the licensing would be a real problem. I get that.
Yes.
Well, other than your Mickey Mouse phone, are you a big collector of memorabilia yourself?
I collect some, but I would say no. I mean, if you saw my collection, you would be like, wow. I do have my little Stacey Lego.
Oh,
yeah.
So cool.
That was
I've got,
you remember.
This little guy right here, because I did the voice of the little green sprout in the early 70s. And so that's my little, and I got a couple of other little things up there. But that's the extent for my characters. So, but I love him.
Well, you're a character in real life. Like, so this was like fun. If people remember from, this, she has like a little matching outfit that I was wearing. So she sits in my booth and she gives me good feedback. And,
you didn't get to keep anything from the time that you're doing all the Must Do Disney?
I kept a few pieces of wardrobe that were super special to me.
Okay.
that once they knew we were retiring, that they said, is there anything? So I just kept a couple of pieces. And then they did give me some ears from the Year of a Million Dreams. Remember that?
Yes.
They gave me some ears. Where are they? They're in there. The ones that light up.
Mhm.
But I have my Mickey phone. My Mickey Mouse watch broke. I have some Mickey t-shirts and stuff, but I don't have a big collection. It's pathetic.
Well, how did you get involved with Family Game Night?
Oh, that's fun. A family game night. That was a live in-show announcer gig. My agent at the time, my voiceover agent said, "Hey, they've had this guy doing it, but they want to try a female." So I auditioned and I got it. And so I had to go to film it in the soundstage and stuff. And then I did all the live announce with the audience, and then I had to do pickups after the fact. But again, this is another example of, yes, I do that. They came to me and said, hey, so we've got live audiences. We shot like 12 shows in like, I don't know, 4 days. It's crazy. And so I'm in my little live announce thing off the side, and they said, "Oh, do you do audience warm up?" I said, "Yeah, I do that." Yeah, they're great. Okay. So we negotiate that in the deal. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, "So what do we need to get for you?" Well, a microphone, of course. Yeah. How about and I'm just literally, how about some candy and a hula hoop? And can I get some little slips of paper? What? Okay. So I was doing like hula hoop contests and throwing candy at people, and they were doing like stand up like jokes, but apparently I was a hit. And so I did the audience warm up, and then I'd go do the announce, and then I would do audience warm up for the next audience. So that was my stint in. That was once. That did not last more than 15. That was once, but that was a great experience because it was like, it was hot. We were in like the middle of the San Fernando Valley, so it was like 115 degrees out. We're in this metal building. It was so hot. So people are very unhappy. So, I just had to make it work. And so that was fun. So that lasted for a season. And then they decided they wanted to go with a guy again. I guess too innovative or something. But actually a friend of mine that I know got the gig. He's awesome. So I was like, yay. So I passed him. They tried it once, but they wanted it more game show dude, which I will say no to. Can you be a game show dude? I would say that no. I'll leave that to the professionals.
Yeah, that's asking a lot. Well, let's talk about your series VO Buzz Weekly, which you co-host with Chuck Duran. It gets tons of views and is also kind of go-to spot to find out about the industry. Tell us about the show and how it got started.
Yeah, so that was back in 2012. Chuck Duran, who's the go-to guy, producer, director, voiceover, rock star musician, singer, guitar player, incredible guy, who happens to also be the love of my life. And so we wanted to do something together creatively because we were both super busy. We said, well, we want to do something creatively that we could do together. And on top of the fact, I was getting other hosting opportunities, but frankly, I wasn't loving it. It was like, we love Stacey. Can she be less smart? We love Stacey. Can she change her name? We love Stacey. Can she dye her hair? And I'm like, you know what? If I try to please every single person that wants me to be something else on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, by Friday, I don't know who I am. So I was like, I just don't want to try to fit into all these boxes people are trying to make me fit into, but I love hosting. So I said, what if we did something of our own? And thankfully at that point we had the internet going crazy. And so we could not have to wait on a network to say, we'll produce this. So at the time, there wasn't really any putting faces to voices of, of characters. No one was really talking to agents and writers and casting directors and voice directors. So we said, let's do like a cool web talk show and pull back the veil and hear people's stories about how they became where they got to. And so that was how it started. And if we got, talked with some of our friends, and then we reached out and got a really cool following, and people started to really like it, not just because they were interested in how the process goes to get an agent or how did someone develop that character, but the people that aren't even in voiceover would write to us and say, I love the stories about persistence and tenacity and how rejection after rejection didn't derail them and how they followed through. And so it became like the patterns and behaviors of successful people that resonated with everyone, because we're all trying to get on our best path and be our best selves. So that started, and that went on, and then COVID happened, and we were doing a weekly show interviewing all kinds of people. And then we had to shut down. I mean, California shut down. And so we decided, we need to just take a pause because the world is upside down and everyone's on Zoom. And I don't think we want to just make people be on Zoom now. And so then we realized that, more people were doing shows and podcasts. So we went in a different direction, which is kind of the direction we're in now, which is, if you'll see on our channel or our app or our website, is sort of like the how-to space of showing the making of demos. So the voiceover demo is your calling card, and I write the copy for our clients to perform in the demo. Chuck directs and produces and does all the post and all that. But we're showing the process, because now in voiceover, you're not going into the studio all the time. You're not going into your agent's office to audition. Most agencies don't even have booths anymore. So you have to be a talent. You have to be an engineer. You have to be a self-director. You have to wear all these different hats. So we said, let's try some of these. And we did some of them in LA. I did one. We did some with our friends that were very, very established, and they were really, really popular. And now we're really looking at people that are very talented, but not necessarily in the business for 20 years. We're showing all different kinds of people at different stages in their career. And it's really been cool for people to see all the different kinds of talent all over the world, massive gear setups, minimal gear setups, and just seeing this is the expectation of what you need to be, have, and do to be in the voiceover business now. So that's kind of where we are now. And it's been really fun because we've just sort of, we just kind of like to try to do things that aren't being done everywhere. So that's where we are right now with that.
Yeah, wow. Everything has changed so much since I retired and left it all behind. I will say just a little historic anecdote for you. I worked with Paul Frees back when I was doing the Green Sprout commercials, and I was in the booth. I was at the studio in the booth. One of the very first times that Paul had started to incorporate his home studio, where he was so busy he couldn't drive to all these other studios, and he had set up a studio in his house. And I don't even know how we got the feed, but the feed from his house came in over my headset, and I was working with Paul Frees while he was at home and I was in the booth. And it was the most fascinating, incredible thing. And I thought, wow, this must be the way things are, gonna go at some point. Now you don't even leave your house to do anything. I mean, I don't want to. I know that much. But I have to say, as much as I love my on-camera career, I absolutely loved the voiceover work I did. It was my favorite thing to do, period. So how is that for you? Do you prefer one over the other, or?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you were great at it. And, there's no expiration date on your voice. So I wouldn't hang up those headphones just yet if I were you. But that's just me giving you unsolicited excitement. ISDN was sort of that first launch pad of you can be one place and very trippy, like what is happening. So that was really exciting because I wasn't in voiceover at that time. So I've come in now. Now because I'm not in LA anymore. And so I'm working with people, in LA, New York, all over the place. They're coming through, Source Connect is a big thing now. ISDN is not, as because it still needed a line, and now everything's digital and you have Teams and Zoom and all these different things. So it's really fascinating that with Wi-Fi, there is still some in-person recording, but COVID, absolutely, the voiceover business thrived. And we were already doing some remote. I was doing some stuff from my home studio, but I was still going in a lot. But even live action dubbing, which I do remotely. So there's lots of opportunities to work if you have the proper setup and you're willing to work at all hours of the day and night. And kind of like you, like I loved on camera. I loved everything I got to do. But I love that voiceover is such a pure form of storytelling where it doesn't matter that I'm only 5'2". It doesn't matter that I'm even female, because if I'm going to be a mushroom, it doesn't matter, right? So, I love that there's so many opportunities to really push the boundaries and vivid imagination, and whether it's animation or games or promos or audiobooks or commercials, there's really not a lot of limit to it, which on camera there is. There really is. So I love the freedom. I love because I do a lot of different things. I'm grateful to be able to do a bunch of different genres. So I like that no day is the same. I like that I don't know what my inbox is going to hold audition wise. And I like the challenge. I'll always try. Sometimes I'll say, no, I'm not going to send that because no. But I didn't know I could make squirrel sounds. And apparently I could, and they hired me.
Well, that's what makes it so much fun. Yeah. Now you've had so many great guests on VO Buzz Weekly, and you've been doing this obviously a long time yourself. But are you still learning new things from the people you've had on and you have on?
Oh gosh, yes. I pray that I never stop learning, because I think your creativity is just a living, breathing thing. And so I think too, as you experience life, it's like, I don't know if you've ever read the same book a few times. There's a few books that I like to read, sometimes different times in my life. And it lands on you differently because of the experiences you've had, or the challenges you've had, or the triumphs you've had. So absolutely. When we're doing our making of demo things, I learn. When I'm writing scripts and doing the research to make sure I'm writing copy that's really fresh and relevant. And so I love that there's always something to learn. And I'm always just, my family's always called me Nancy Drew, because I'm always like, so absolutely. Like I really, and everything is changing, and now you've got all the different technology and but at the core, I think it's really still about the ability to connect and communicate. So the medium of it may be different, but if you don't pull people into you, it's still, I don't think it's going to work. I don't think we've gotten so tech crazy that, at least I still feel like there's a need and a desire for human connection.
You mentioned auditioning a couple of minutes ago. Do you still have to audition a lot, or have we reached the point that says, just get me Stacey?
Oh, you're adorable. Yes, I do. I mean, I have a few things coming up that I'm not supposed to talk about yet that were offered to me,
Mm-hmm.
but absolutely, yeah. You know, and it is true. Auditioning is the job. Uh, you I just approach the auditions, first of all, getting an audition point with the volume of talent and the volume of opportunities. Getting an audition is already some kind of a victory because there's a lot of people out there doing it. So getting the audition is just kind of like I was with on camera. Like you just have to believe that you bring something wonderful, and it may not be the right fit for a certain project, but you're going to fit somewhere, you're going to trend somewhere. And so all you can control is how great you are willing to push yourself to be, and the sound quality. You know, don't take yourself out of the mix because your sound isn't good. Give them as few reasons as possible to not want to work with you. And then after that, I have a point in my house where I leave my booth and I get to the top of the stairs, and then that's it. I can't think about it. It's like, nope. By the time I get down the stairs, Chuck will say, "Hey, what'd you audition for?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'll have to look." Like, I log everything in so I can keep track of what I've done. But then I just go, I'm not going to hijack my happiness because of, you know, I always say, like, no one will know how happy I am. It's not at all correlated with how many bookings or auditions I get, because I just refuse to be a hostage to that.
Yeah. One of my favorite pieces of interesting advice I got when I was doing voiceovers very early on was at a particular casting company, and inside the booth, someone had taped a handwritten note behind the microphone that said, "Don't leave your audition in the car on the way home." So I'm wondering if you have like some, you've given a lot of advice about, what it takes to be involved in it, but just for someone who's looking to get started, what would you want to say to them?
I would say start.
Mm.
Make sure that you have the toolbox, because you're not jumping in at the beginning. You're jumping into the ocean. So make sure whatever is within your control, your craft, your storytelling, your studio sound, dial all that in, which obviously keeps evolving, and then just do the work, be patient, believe that it isn't an instant. You know, a lot of people think voiceover is quick, easy money. I have a nice sounding voice, I have a microphone. It's not that. It is an art, it is a craft, it is a grind. I mean, it's 24/7, 365, truly. Because if you say, "Oh, I have tickets to the theater tonight," okay, great, have a nice time. Somebody else is going to be like, "I'm free." So I think managing your expectations, like, define what you want. Is it a really cool hobby? Is it a career? And then plan accordingly, dig in accordingly, because it's like community theater versus a full-fledged professional acting career. You can't half bake it and expect a brilliant result. So I think it's really just getting clear about what you want, and then strategic action every day. Do something that propels you forward, whether it's coaching, whether it's working on your website, whether it's just reading out loud, practicing, jogging on the treadmill to make sure your lungs are strong. You know, just do whatever you can do that's within your control, because so much is out of your control. And if you focus on what you can't control, you're going to be miserable. So
Yeah, it's a chaotic business. There's no doubt about it. And I think
yeah.
that is excellent advice. Excellent advice.
Thank you.
Well, you've already mentioned stuff, or you have coming out that you can't mention? Is there anything you're working on next that you can mention?
I'm kind of weird about that because I feel like the people that create it, it's their story to tell.
Okay.
So I kind of, until they tell this, say, here's my story, I kind of feel like I don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
I don't
well,
want to. I take an NDA very seriously. And even if there isn't an NDA, I have sort of like my own internal NDA.
Yeah.
And so, because stuff happens and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this thing. And then, oh, actually, we went in a different direction, or oh, we recast, or oh, it got tanked. So I kind of, yeah. So I don't know.
Well, I want to ask before we let you, I see on your Facebook page just how adored you are by your fans, and you interact with them at times as well. How often do fans reach out to you? And much like I talked to you about my kids, you see some people who express similar things on your Facebook page. I saw stating how much you meant to them and their kids, or just how gratifying is it for you to see that how you've affected so many people?
It is extremely gratifying. And honestly, it means so much to me. And I'm still so humbled by the fact that people are even still curious about my existence at this point. I guess I didn't realize, because I knew about Disney, but I had not been so immersed in the culture growing up, that as the years went on and as the years continue to go on, I realized how precious Disney is to so many people for a lot of different reasons. And the fact that I was part of that, and that people would say, oh, I didn't even want to I wanted to stay in my resort room and just watch the TV all day. Like wow. Maybe it was the humidity, in fairness. No, but I just the fact that people really took the time and they would learn every word. That was always so cool to me. I remember meeting this one family. It was in Epcot, and the kids were, probably like seven to 10. There were three of them, and they were quoting every single word. Like I would say, Expedition Everest, and they'd be like, Yeti time, and they would go through the whole thing. There doesn't seem to be any track, and they would go through the whole thing. And so I remember saying to them, I was like, how are you doing in school? And so I was like, hey, what if you made like your own top 7 to learn and create? And I remember the mom later messaging me saying that really helped, because we know musically that when you can remember a song from the 60s, from the 30s, from verbatim. And so it was cool to kind of see like how whether it was something like that, or when the kids couldn't fall asleep, they would turn on the channel and I would be sort of their lullaby, if you will. And so just how sweet people are about including me that I don't even know about, is really awesome. And I love when people share it. And I've sent, messages to people that, were 5 and they were getting married. And it's like, oh my gosh. It's like time does. I mean, we are frozen in time on the internet, but time does march on.
Mm. Well, aside from Facebook, how can people follow you on social media?
I am semi-social these days. It's a little busy, but I'm on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do X a lot. But I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook some, and people can message me on my website. Sometimes people will ask for a photo, and I usually do donations. Rescue and animal advocacy is really important to me. So they'll make a donation and I'll donate that to animal rescues and help with that. Because I would love to be a huge part of ending not only people, but animal homelessness and all of that. So I've done a lot of that actually where I'm living. I've spayed and neutered like 53 cats and helped control the population. And
well, how can people get involved in that with animal, helping out with animal causes?
Well, you know what? It starts locally. I mean, if you learn about, not every stray cat is a feral cat. A lot of them are dumped and people do really horrible things. But TNVR, trap, neuter, vaccinate, return, is being done all over. And it's very humane. It's very rewarding to try to stop the population in your community. So you can check out, there's North Shore Animal League, is one of the largest no-kill shelters in the country, but there's TNVR groups all over. But look at your local rescues and try to get involved. And obviously, if you have your own, I sound like Bob Barker, but if you have your own animals, please spay and neuter them. And, these animals don't need to keep reproducing. It's really out of control. So,
and people who buy things from your website, that's where the donations go, right?
Yes. All of that goes. And so I've found some really cool movers and shakers in my community. And so we've literally, when you look at the numbers of how quickly it can get out of control, it's literally like astronomical if you leave animals just to reproduce without anything, with supervision. So it's really the most humane thing for them. And so I have some stray cats that are stray no more. I have created a habitat for them. And so we're committed to caring for them. But it's cool because the younger kids in our neighborhood now know about it. So we've been able to really talk about like how you can help a stray animal and how you can speak up if you see animals being abused. And so it's important because I think the way we treat our elderly and our animals is woefully in need of some,
Agreed.
And our veterans.
Yes,
it's in need of some major repair.
Well, before we let you go, I have one question that's burning in my mind. Do you at least get into the Disney parks for free now?
No.
No.
Me neither. Me neither.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I was watching because I was probably like, if she says yes, I'm so calling her and being like, what happened? No. No. It seems weird, but
it's incredible to me. Really incredible.
Well, that's funny. It's like, it's weird. I don't give it a lot of thought, but for other people, it freaks them out. I'm like, I don't know. I don't lose sleep over it, but it could pop up in something odd. That would maybe be in the something odd category, but oh well, it is what it is.
I'll save my Disney comments for off camera.
That's right.
Yes.
The internet is forever. So.
Yes. Well, Stacey, thank you so much for joining us today. It was such a treat to get to speak with you.
Thank you for all you do.
And my kids are thrilled that you were on as well.
Thank you. And thank you for all you guys put out. It's wonderful and refreshing and inspiring. And congratulations. Much success to you both.
Well, thank you again. This has been Pop Culture Retro. I'm Jonathan Rosen, along with Ike Eisenmann. And again, a very special thanks to Stacey Aswad. And please like, comment, and subscribe.
Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Retro, where no one was hurt during the making of this podcast.